All right, guys, let's talk about 2025. My name is Brian Mayer, eXp Realty. I have been a real estate agent for over 10 years. Before that, I was a mortgage lender for 5 years here in Southern Maryland, Calvert County specifically. And I'm going to get right to the point for people who don't want to watch the whole video. Guys, it's going to be a lot of the same that it was for the past 2 years. And the reason for that is interest rates are going to remain high. When I say high, I mean upper sixes, 7%. The number of houses is still restricted by the same conditions that existed before, and that is that people have low interest rates, are going to hold on to those houses and not sell them. And they also understand that the step up from the house that they might be selling to the house they want to buy because of interest rates and because of house prices is so high that it creates a scenario where you're only going to do it if you have to. So there's a lot of scenarios where the people that are moving have to move, but the people that want to move are choosing not to move for that reason. And house prices, the other major factor, is going to remain about the same. They're predicting like 2 to 5%, which is going to keep up with inflation. So it's basically going to be about the same. Now, for a more in-depth analysis, let's just talk about the DC market specifically. It does follow a national trend. We are insulated because of the US government. Now, there's one factor that I've talked about in some of my other videos that might be a disruptor is the idea of Elon Musk and Vivek and Donald Trump with the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, laying off an enormous amount of people. Now, I've heard different predictions from different people. They met with Congress a couple weeks ago, and they basically came out and said it's going to be a lot of nothing, that it's not going to have a big effect. However, if it does, that's the only thing that could disrupt our housing market. Other than that, let's get into the details. Home values will grow at a modest rate after several years of skyrocketing values. 2024 brought us some much needed breathing room. House prices nationally are forecast to grow by 2.6%. Guys, that's inflation, 2.6%. They're going to remain almost identical. The other big news is mortgage rates. That's what everybody is hoping, that Donald Trump will come in and cause this rates to go back to 3%. Like, let's go back to the way it was when Donald Trump was president. That's really not going to happen. If you read what the Fed said, they're going to lower interest rates maybe twice, not 4 times like they did this year. And if you paid attention, the times they dropped interest rates, what happened? They stayed the same. The interest rates are not a direct correlation to the Fed interest rate. Don't want to get into all that. But basically, guys, if you read lots of different websites, lots of different predictions, other than the conspiracy theorists or people that pretend to have the inside information, it's going to remain basically at about 7%. If you know a lot about the DC market, there's not a lot of new construction. We're not in Dallas, Texas. We're not in parts of Florida or Idaho, where they're building these large neighborhoods where they have an influx of people moving there that's changing things. What we have here is a very old area with very restrictive housing building restrictions that creates a scenario where I'm at specifically in Southern Maryland, there is almost zero new construction for single family houses. Prince George's, Anne Arundel County, kind of the same. The two neighborhoods they're building in Southern Prince George's County start at 975 and 1.1 million. So you're not going to see an influx of affordable housing. The only housing that they are building right now, and you will see this, are townhouses, condominiums. That's what people are moving towards. And, fixer-upper houses or houses that need fixing up, or a house that's recently been fixed up. There's not going to be an influx of new houses coming in. So again, the only thing that I know of that is on my radar that could disrupt this for the Maryland, DC metro area is going to be a mass firing of federal employees, or this idea I just heard yesterday. Donald Trump said he wants everybody to come back to work. I believe it's like only 3% of federal employees actually go to work every day. You can fact check me on that. But if that's true, maybe somebody who decided to live like way out in the boondocks because they only had to come to work 1 day a week, which many people did, are going to decide, hey, I got to move closer. So they're going to sell their house. That might cause some disruption in the DC market. But other than that, things are going to remain the same. I wish I had better information for you guys on my side of things. 2024 and 2023 were as slow as 1995, which was the slowest housing market in our lifetimes. And in 1995, there was 32% fewer Americans. One other just piece of context I'd like to give you. I did a video on this the other day. The cost of a house today in 2024 is about double what it was in 1965 when they were considered the lowest. And we're talking per capita, adjusted for inflation and whatnot. And we're talking about the average income versus the average house. Now, I will say that the average house was smaller, but it's about double. So just to throw out some numbers, in the upper Northeast or the Mideast, whatever it was, the average house is like $536,000. The average income, and this is to minimally qualify without other debt, meaning you don't have car payments and credit card payments adjusted on top of that, is $136,000 to afford a $536,000 house. It is very unaffordable. I'm not going to lie to you. And my advice to you, if you are going to consider buying a house in 2025, and this is the same advice that I gave to my daughter and son-in-law who just bought a house last year, is to buy a house that has income producing opportunity, something that has an in-law suite, a basement that can be rented out, maybe a detached garage that has an Airbnb potential, or you can rent it out monthly or something like that. Anything that you can do to offset the cost of a mortgage. Just to give you one example, I know of a couple who bought a house in Annapolis, a townhouse, and what they decided to do was for 2 weeks out of the year, they were going to rent their house out. There's something called the coronation, I believe it is, where everybody goes to the Naval Academy when they're, graduating all their graduates. And it's like a huge influx of people in the Annapolis area. And they rent their house out for, I believe, 2 weeks a year for that time frame. And it's able to cover several months of their mortgage, which then allows them to sort of balance their books to afford a house they might not otherwise be able to afford. I know this is not an ideal situation, but if you could create a scenario where maybe you rent your house out for a month and you go on vacation or stay with somebody else, or you rent out your basement, or you have an in-law suite, or you decide to build something on your property, you got to check all the regulations on how to do that, because they don't make it easy to do that. That is pretty much the best opportunity that I think you have. And the other thing is, if you don't want to do it, absolutely would be to buy a fixer upper. For the most part, in 2019 through 2023, people were just buying the nicest house they could afford because interest rates were so low. And that was kind of just the way things went. I did not see very many people looking at fixer uppers, but now we're kind of back to what I saw like in 2014 and 15, where people were struggling and they were buying fixer uppers. And then in a couple years, they had put in the new floors, they had put in the new appliances and gotten the new countertops, and they were able to really see the benefit from doing that. And I think that's what I would do if I was buying a house in 2025. Go on my website. I have detailed reports for all the different cities in Calvert County, Maryland. If you have any specific information that I didn't cover in the video, put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope this information was helpful and informative. If it was, I would appreciate if you would give it a like or give it a comment. It does help me in my business. And of course, if you're looking for a real estate agent to sell your property, that's what I specialize in, is helping people get the most money for the property. I do provide a upfront appraisal and upfront pre-home inspection. I provide an interior decorator that will help you pick out all the things that you could and should do to get your house sold for the most money. It's up to you to decide if you want to do some of them, all of them, none of them. That's totally up to you. But I feel like it's my obligation as a real estate agent to give you the best advice on the different aspects to home selling so that you can get top dollar for it. This is Brian Mayer, eXp Realty, briansoldit.com. Thank you for watching.